Number 15. No mask. Reporters around the world have had to deal with an assortment of harassment. Voyo Voko faced a completely different form of heckling right before going live. Two men approached and demanded Voko's and his crew's belongings. At first, he wasn't sure what was happening and believed the men were only being disruptive. Once the piece came out, it became clear as to what the men's motivations were.
Hey, we're being mugged. We're being mugged.
Voko and his crew were only seconds away from going live with their report when the men appeared. Despite the scary situation, the men were not clever enough to conceal themselves from the camera, and their faces are clearly visible, and they were quickly identified. All the news crew came out uninjured, and Voko gave an in-person interview about the incident. Members of the KTVU station were startled by a commotion and a man running away. A few feet away, the crew from nearby KNTV began screaming as a man approached them and hit the cameraman.
Hold on, wait. Sorry, there's an incident out here.
The suspect then grabbed both crews' cameras and fled into a car. His face briefly shown before the footage ends. Police were able to take the suspect into custody, and nobody was seriously harmed in the incident. Number 14. North Hollywood Incident. The morning of February 28, 1997, echoed with loud bangs in North Hollywood, Los Angeles. Two heavily armed men robbed a Bank of America branch. Upon exiting the bank, the men found themselves surrounded by LAPD officers, but showed no fear as they attempted to escape. Officers attempted to retaliate, but their efforts were stopped by the men's heavy armor.
When I heard the bullet that hit behind the pool, at that moment I was pretty scared.
Two of the witnesses that day were reporter Jorge Vieira and his cameraman John Guerrera. The two worked for KVEA TV, a local Spanish language news, and were the first news to arrive on the scene. Ducked behind several parked cars, Vieira reported despite what was happening only feet away from him. At one point, Vieira mistook one of the men for a police officer and moved closer towards him. It wasn't until he was too close that he realized his mistake and remained in cover. Thankfully, Vieira and Guerrera survived the ordeal. The incident was a changing point in police history, and many credit it with the beginning of police being more heavily equipped. Number 13. Beyond duty. Not all heroes wear capes, and not all reporters are only interested in capturing the next scoop. During Hurricane Harvey between August 17th and September 2nd, 2017, Texas experienced massive flooding which affected nearly 50,000 homes. One of the hardest hit was Houston and the surrounding area. During the calm of the storm, KHOU 11 reporter Brandy Smith and photographer Mario Sandoval were filming on an elevated freeway when they came across a semi-truck in over 10 feet of water, with its driver trapped inside. His doors were held shut by the force of the water, and his cabin was quickly filling inside. Much to Smith and Sandoval's relief, a sheriff car was passing by towing a boat behind it. Smith flagged down the sheriff's deputies and asked them to help, and the two men quickly sprang into action. While assessing the situation, one of the deputies revealed that a year before, they had to dive in the same location to recover a driver who passed away in a completely submerged semi-truck. The driver was rescued thanks to Smith's actions, and the two of them later appeared on Ellen to share their story. Number 12. The Lion's Jaws. The lion has the nickname King of the Jungle, and for good reason. Telegraph journalist Charlie Starmer Smith was in South Africa at an animal sanctuary to film himself with the lions. Clearly nervous from the beginning, Smith steps into the lion's cage and is assured by the handler it is safe to pet the lion's belly. It starts off fine, but the lion begins biting at Smith's shoes and sleeve.
Hey, bueno.
After the handler gets the lion away, It appears to scratch him, but the handler assures Smith he is just playing. After a second attempt to calmly pet the lion, it once again begins to bite at his sleeves and pant legs. For over a minute, the lion scratches and bites Smith as the handler works to get the lion away from Smith. Thankfully, all scratches were minor and not conducted out of pure aggression on the lion's part. It was only playing, but had Smith showed any weakness or had panicked, it is possible the lion would have done much worse. Smith managed to walk away alive. Number 11. London is burning. When unrest occurs, fires will follow. London was the epicenter of a massive incident between August 6th and 11th, 2011. After Metropolitan Police took the life of unarmed Mark Duggan, the outrage spread throughout the UK, with shops, homes, and vehicles looted and burned. A group of BBC journalists were driving and filming one of the areas affected, with smoke filling the streets and people swarming all around. Every shop they passed was being looted, and burned out cars blocked some of the streets. The chilling thing is how calm everyone is, with one of the reporters described as sauntering down the street as if in a supermarket aisle. Then, without warning, the rioters turned on the news van, and a rock was thrown through their window, causing the driver to put his foot down and speed off. Several more rocks can be heard hitting the side of the van.
Keep going.
We've just been attacked. A rock has come through the window, and they're continuing to attack us.
As they frantically tried to return to the police line. Thankfully, the crew escaped unharmed. Number 10. Trapped in Mosul. The situation in Syria and northern Iraq has been a major story, and the rise of Daesh. Throughout 2014, Daesh became a subject of worry after the group managed to take over much of eastern Syria and northern Iraq, with the peak of its campaign in early June when it captured the Iraqi city of Mosul, the country's third largest city with over 2 million inhabitants. CNN correspondent Arwa Damon and camera operator Bryce Lane were embedded with Iraqi special forces, traveled with them in an armored car as they entered the suburbs of Mosul. The convoy was under immediate fire. Then they get boxed in an alley blocked by cars and other debris. As the city waits for the roads to get cleared, they interview several civilians trapped in the city. To the group's horror, their tires are all flat and they become trapped in enemy territory. They all take cover in a house as things continue to escalate.
We hear the hiss of a tire losing air.
More disturbingly, Daesh also filmed the battle only feet away from where the crew was. The crew bunkers down through the night, and after over 20 hours, reinforcements finally arrive and evacuate everyone. Number 9. Tyler Courthouse. The courthouse in Tyler, Texas became the scene of a major battle on February 24, 2005. David Ario made his way to the courthouse to confront his ex-wife and son. The two had recently gotten divorced, and Ario was enraged at the court's decision. As his ex-wife and son walked towards the courthouse doors, Ario ambushed them, taking the life of his ex-wife. Several officers inside attempted to confront Ario, but were forced to retreat. During the incident, a news crew was inside one of the courtrooms when this started. Everyone in the room dropped to the floor, and one officer kept the defendant subdued in order to prevent him from making a dash in the confusion. At one point, the crew's cameraman decided to venture outside in order to capture what was going on, but made it no further than a few steps before his nerves got the better of him, and he rushed back into the courtroom to take cover. Outside, news crews captured officers swarming the area in order to prevent Ario from escaping. Unfortunately, Ario had already driven off, and a short chase ensued. After Ario was rammed by a car, he had his life taken when attempting to retaliate. In the end, Ario's wife, a civilian, and Ario were the only people who passed away during the incident. Number 8. Chaos in Ferguson. In 3 separate instances, Ferguson became chaotic after police took the life of Michael Brown, an unarmed African-American teen who was walking home with friends on August 9, 2014. The same day, people flocked to the streets to voice their anger. For 2 weeks and 2 days, the streets of Ferguson were rife with chaos. News stations from across the states gathered to capture the chaos, but often found themselves in the line of fire. During the second wave between November 24th and December 2nd of the same year, a result of the officer involved being acquitted of charges, CNN reporter Sarah Snyder was discussing several fires near her when a rock was thrown at her, causing her to momentarily duck down in pain.
Is inside whether it's... Sorry, I just got hit by a rock.
Snyder was okay and assured the viewers and station as much before continuing her report. However, another reporter who was also live interrupted her, saying he could still see rocks falling down around her, and urged her to leave the area. In another incident, a crew from Al Jazeera were preparing for a broadcast with the police in the background, when without warning or reason, police fired a tear gas canister right at them. Another crew nearby caught the incident on tape and shows the crew running from the rising gas. The police are then shown rushing to the site and dismantling their lights and cameras. It is unknown what their motivations were, but there has been speculation it was a form of media censoring. Number 7. Tear gassed. For nearly 2 years, Greece erupted into a near revolution in response to the rising debt crisis and major cuts to services by the then government. All across the country, particularly the capital of Athens, people took to the streets, where they often clashed with police and far-right demonstrators. RT correspondent Sarah Firth and her photographer were caught in the middle of one clash when tear gas canisters were fired in their direction, covering the surroundings in thick white smoke and deafening them with loud bangs.
And the tear gas literally going off right now as we speak. You can see that up the road. The tear gas going off as we speak. The protesters and the police are still clashing at the moment. Very hard to breathe here.
Despite becoming overwhelmed with tear gas, Firth managed to continue her report for several minutes before retreating. Succumbing to the gas, Firth and her photographer collapsed to their knees. Firth and her photographer spent several minutes in the gas and were suffering. Worst yet, protesters around them were taking their frustration out by shoving the photographer and offering them no assistance. Thankfully, a good Samaritan came to their aid, providing them with cold water, medicine, and escorting them to EMTs. Because of this, the two were able to quickly recover and continue the report. Number 6. Falling from the sky. News choppers are great for getting aerial shots for a variety of reasons, from ongoing events to weather to traffic. Unfortunately, horrible incidents are known to happen. Most famously, a major incident in Phoenix occurred on July 27, 2007. Crews from KNXV-TV and KTVK were in the air reporting on a police pursuit of a man in a work truck. At one point during the chase, the man abandoned his vehicle and attempted to take another work truck, but workers were rushing him to attempt to stop him. As the situation was unfolding, both helicopters got too close to each other and collided. Over Steel Indian School Park, the live feed quickly went to static, and confused station crew believed a connection error had occurred.
We're gonna pull out. We don't know what has just happened right there.
Other news choppers in the area, who were also covering the pursuit, suddenly changed their priority after they saw the smoke of both choppers rising from the ground in the aftermath. Immediately after, all choppers were ordered to leave the area in order to prevent any further incidents. Both reporters and pilots passed away, but nobody on the ground was hurt, as they landed in an open, unpopulated area. Number 5. Rubber rounds. In the aftermath of the 2016 presidential election, across the country, tens of thousands of people demonstrated their displeasure at the results. During several of these events, things became unruly, and police resorted to tear gas and rubber rounds in order to disperse the growing crowds, and clashes between supporters and opposers. KOIN 6 news reporters were in Portland filming the event when things went south quickly. Tear gas and flashbangs went off all around, and rubber rounds went flying as people scrambled to get away. And others fell injured onto the street. Reporter Cole Miller was in the process of aiding a fallen man when several flashbangs blew in his vicinity, and then he was hit with a rubber round in his lower back. This in turn led him to retreat to safety, where he was assessed by medical volunteers and determined to be okay. Number 4. Just in time. Expect the unexpected, and you may just save your life. This was the lesson a KTVU journalist in Northern California will never forget. Alex Savage was at a busy intersection talking about a recent train derailment when suddenly 2 cars drive into each other, sending one right towards the crew. The reporter heard the noise and quickly dodged out of the way before the car took him out.
Situation for
Everyone was okay. Even the camera itself avoided damage as it was able to stay upright and continue filming. Number 3. 1992 LA. For 5 days in 1992, Los Angeles was lit up like a Roman candle. After the Rodney King verdict came in, people gathered outside the courtroom and began taking out their anger on the courthouse. Things became more heated at the corner of Florence and Normandy, where a large mob began throwing rocks at passing cars and pulling random drivers from their vehicles. From there, things escalated quickly throughout Los Angeles. The unprepared LAPD quickly called in every available officer back to duty, including recalling those on vacation and members of the LA County Sheriff. In Koreatown, merchants had their shops broken into and looted. Several angry shop owners were being interviewed by a local TV crew. When they suddenly went back into their stores, they then spent time firing at various individuals they believed to be threats. The TV crew ducked back and filmed the ordeal, which eventually culminated with the merchants engaging in a firefight with individuals who pulled up. The ordeal ended when then-President George H.W. Bush authorized the mobilization of the 7th Infantry and 1st Marine Divisions to aid police in regaining control of the situation. Number 2. Miracle Valley. Between 1978 and 1980, 300 members of the Christ Miracle Healing Center and Church, many from Chicago and Mississippi, moved into the area surrounding the former Bible College. Controversy raised further when authorities discovered up to 10 members had passed away, including 5 children, due to the church's refusal to seek proper medical attention, instead attempting faith healing. After tensions reached its peak, several members of the congregation took their own lives with dynamite for use still under speculation. National and local news stations were attracted to the situation and converged on Miracle Valley, interviewing both members of the community and members of the church. However, the latter people were not trustworthy of outsiders, as one crew found out as they were setting up to conduct a report. Several women from the church pulled up in a car and began striking them with hammers and other objects. The crew had to quickly dismantle their equipment and literally jump into their moving car to escape. Unknown to all involved, another crew nearby caught the ordeal on tape. After the footage aired, all sympathy towards the church was squashed, and they all became vilified. On October 23, 1982, members of the sheriff's office entered the compound to arrest members suspected to be involved in the dynamite incident, resulting in a massive conflict between police and church members. In the aftermath, nobody was charged, but the church slowly faded into obscurity. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. I recently released a music video for my song Sidelined, and I'd love to get your opinion on it. tap the circle icon in the top right corner, then tap my music video to give it a watch. It's also linked in the description below. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person, so if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way you'll be notified of the new video we upload every Tuesday. Number 1. Best friend, worst enemy. Abby Ninsgoda was attempting to interview Rhode Island resident Melissa Lawrence, whose daughter had been hospitalized by a neighbor during a graduation party. She survived, but Lawrence was clearly feeling the stress of this incident. When Ninsgoda showed up at her door, Lawrence was instantly hostile, throwing rocks towards the crew. Then, more frighteningly, Lawrence orders her dogs to attack Ninsgoda as she and the photographer fled down the street. In another incident, reporter John Gordon was doing a report on police dogs and was interviewing canine officer John Best with his new dog Pedro. The interview starts off well, and Gordon gently pets Pedro on the head. Best was confident things would go well, but also did not know Pedro's personality all that well since they were just assigned to each other. At one point, Gordon reaches up with his other hand and places it on Pedro's neck. Because the dog is trained to defend itself, Pedro saw this as an aggressive act and quickly chomped down on Gordon's face. Best pulled Pedro away within a fraction of a second, and Gordon stood up and walked away. He was rushed to the hospital, but luckily only suffered minor cuts. Gordon learned an important lesson to remember the personal boundaries of a police dog, and he has since had no hard feelings towards Pedro. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!